And here we are. We are on air with our Fan4Racing Radio NASCAR Xfinity Series review. This is Sharon, Fan4Racing, and joining me today is Jay. Welcome to the show, Jay.
Thank you, Sharon. Happy to be here. Had a weekend of racing. We'll go with that as we get into the review here. I know you already reviewed the Truck Series. As a little interesting, but we look forward to doing the Xfinity and Cup Series reviews today.
Yes. What was your overall view of the Xfinity Series race, Jay?
You know, coming into it, I was a little concerned. I'm going to turn this a little bit. Watched the Truck Series, and I thought they did a pretty good job of overall clean racing. I know it's Daytona, and it's going to deliver certain things. Then I listened to the ARCA Menard Series race on the radio, and I heard a lot of under caution and delay. And so going to the Xfinity, I didn't know where we were going to go. I thought they did a pretty good job. I know we still had the couple of incidences, but I thought they raced, especially there at the end, to put on a good finish. So overall, good. Again, it is Daytona. It's super speedway racing.
It was the United Rentals 300 at Daytona on Saturday, February the 15th. And I apologize. I was going to try to get that review out on Sunday, but some things unexpected happened, and that's why I'm doing it on Monday instead. There were three stages. It was Jesse Love who came out on top. And at the Xfinity race, everybody thought it was going to be Austin Hill, but it wasn't Austin Hill. It was Jesse Love, his teammate. Still, RCR prevailed at the end. It was a typical wild finish at Daytona. Jesse Love won the season opener in overtime, of course, taking the white flag just moments before a massive multi-car accident behind him brought out a caution, officially ending the race. The number 41 of Sam Mayer finished runner-up in his debut with Haas factory team. In fact, they had two drivers in the top 10. Sam Mayer driving the number 41, driving the 00 with Sheldon Creed, and he came in third. Then it was Carson Cavapo, the highest finishing rookie of the race, who came in fourth place. And in the number 54 was Taylor Gray, rounding out the top five. The next five drivers were Harrison Burton, his debut in the number 25 for AM Racing. Then you had Jordan Anderson in the number 32, Dean Thompson in the 26, and Jeremy Clements and Patrick Emmerling. Austin Hill won the opening two stages of the race. He led a race high of 56 laps before having a rear gear issue in the final stage that took him out of the race. There were 24 lead changes among 11 drivers, 8 cautions for 39 yellow flag laps, and the average speed of the race was 123.301 miles per hour. Your thoughts, Jay, about the top 10 finishers here?
You know, it's Daytona. We talk about it. Anybody can win, but I think we had a majority of the top expected drivers up there at the front. There are a couple in there that were a little bit of a, I'll say, surprise and would have been some great stories. But Jesse Love really shouldn't be. If you look at how he started last year, talk about RCR, and we did this in the preview. RCR, when it comes to super speedway racing, top notch. Teammate Austin Hill, well, you mentioned winning the first two stages, and I think even Jesse Love said it. He had him beat. He was trying to hang with his teammate and hopefully finish second to him or have a shot at getting around him. And in Hill's interview, I know he was so disappointed the fact that the way it ended of a parts problem with the rear end gear. He said he'd rather had something else happen on the track and lose it that way than to be in the garage and not even have a shot at it. But yeah. So Jesse Love winning, I wouldn't even call that an upset. Like I said, of especially how he started strong last year, seems to have adapted really well to the super speedway racing. Being partnered with RCR just adds to that. So that wasn't a big shock. The second and third, it's a little surprising being that you brought two new drivers into a newly created Haas factory team. I know it was there as Stewart Haas Racing and they had success, but there were a lot of changes when it came to that organization. And these two new drivers, Sam Mayer and Sheldon Creed, I find it ironic Sheldon Creed finished third. He's become known as Mr. Second Place, holds the record for that. I don't know if he was happier with finishing third than second, at least, to not get another number added to that. But I thought they did what Fords do. They stuck to each other and darn near got that victory. It was one of those close where you mentioned going into overtime. Caution came out there in the Xfinity Series right as they crossed the white line, took the white flag to end it in that overtime start. But moving down through the rest of the field, this is where you get into what Daytona is all about. You got a mixture of rookies, and that was a 50-50 story. Carson Kvapil in fourth, Taylor Gray fifth, Dean Thompson in eighth, your three top rookies. But then the rest of them were mixed in a little further down where you might have expected. Daniel Dye, first out. Nick Sanchez had a problem, ended up in at 35th. They listed as they do list his as an accident. Connor Zilich and William Sawalich both had good runs. I mean, they were in it, just got tangled up in the big one. And that didn't surprise me as a rookie. So kind of a mixed bag for the rookie. And we talk about it. The rookie class in the Xfinity Series this year, going to be phenomenal. And it started out very strong with half of them finishing the top 10. The other half going to have some work to do. But I thought we saw some great performances. Then you mix in Harrison Burton, had a solid run. Jordan Anderson, so big for that team. I love seeing that. As well as then ninth place, Jeremy Clements, and 10th of Patrick Emmerling. I don't know if all of these are even going to run the full season, but to have such a good run at Daytona, put a little money in their pocket, helps them get to more races down the road. So I think there's some huge storylines in there in the top 10 finishes. They didn't win it, but a top 10 finish for teams like that, that is a huge boost.
Yes, indeed. And when we speak about the rookies, Jay, we don't want to forget about Christian Eckes. He finished with a 12th place finish in that race in the number 16 for Colleague Racing. He was still running at the end of the race, and he was able to finish all 126 laps. So that was really good. There were, in fact, 18 drivers finishing on the lead lap, and that's pretty cool. Several drivers you already mentioned had accidents or, issues that took them out of the race earlier than expected. We talked about Austin Hill having the rear end issue. Daniel Dye and Brandon Jones both caught up in an accident early. They were out on lap 5. Kyle Sieg had the rear end issue as well as Austin Hill. It took Sieg out on lap 22, but it took Hill out on lap 82. Nick Sanchez had that accident. Blaine Perkins had a power steering issue that took him out on lap 79. And Chris Wright was out because of an accident. Garrett Smithley had electrical problems that took him out, but everybody else was running at the end of the race, even though they might have been a few laps down. We mentioned 18 drivers finishing on the lead lap. So the margin of victory, there wasn't any because it did end under caution with that accident that happened right there at the end.
And I look forward to the season, seeing these teams that were running good. And we talked about this again on the preview show of Daytona is Daytona. It's kind of a race unto itself. Obviously, you got super speedway racing, which is a style, we'll call it that. And they got Atlanta coming up next. So we're going to see a little bit more of that, different but the same. So a week or two, maybe 3 to 4 weeks in, we're going to start to see anyway, who's contenders and who's where all these teams are at. But overall, I just thought it was a great race, and we'll see how things develop. But talking about the leaders up front, Austin Hill led 5 times for 56 laps, and then his teammate Jesse Love led 3 times for 30 laps. There were a couple others that led multiple times, but the lap count, I think, was only as high as 11. So that tells you, again, not a surprise that Jesse Love won the race. He was up there, albeit behind his teammate for most of it, was up there and in contention.
Yes, indeed. Now, are you going to be able to do the points, Jay, or no?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I
Yep.
wasn't sure.
Yep. I can hop over to that. Obviously, the first race of the year, for if you're a new fan, stay with us on this. There is points awarded in the first two stages, as well as then the bonus points for Jesse Love, as well as 1 point for the Xfinity fastest lap. And I'll get to that because I think that could come into play later on in the season.
Yes.
But although finishing third, it is Sheldon Creed that actually leads by 9 points. And this is why I said don't get confused. Jesse Love, even with the 5 bonus points that he'll get as far as playoff points, is actually second in points, 9 points back. Then it kind of sorts itself out a little bit more. You got rookie Dean Thompson, Taylor Gray. Sam Mayer obviously wasn't up front until the end because he's right now 5th in points, 16 points back. And that's where those stage points early in the race can come into play huge. That's where Mayer fell a little short. Then you got rookie Carson Cavapel. Jeb Burton, again, didn't finish in the top 10, but points-wise is ranked there. He did good in those first 2 stages. Harrison Burton, Jordan Anderson, and then Justin Allgaier rounding out the top 10. Allgaier had a tough finish, but again, was up front battling throughout the race, got the stage points. I want to hit 11th place because this is where that Xfinity fastest lap comes in. Jeremy Clements is the one that picked that up. And he is one of the teams that last year was battling to get in on points at the end of the season, and it was a matter of a few points. So that could be huge, especially for a team like that.
But I love the fact that we've got 3 rookies that are in that top 10. I know it's only the first race of the season, Jay. It's going to change. I get it. But I think it's exciting to see them there already after that first race. Up in that top 10. The others, as we mentioned, all had issues during the first race. Don't expect them to stay where they are at this point. They're going to rise through those ranks, I think. But some impressive runs here. Also, I should mention that Cody Ware, CJ McLaughlin, and JJ Yaley were the drivers that did not make it into the race per the qualifying rules. So, and one other thing I wanted to make note of before we leave is this is the 98th Xfinity Series win for Richard Childress Racing and the 10th at Daytona. So that was pretty exciting, too, to see that he's continuing a streak of 10 wins there at Daytona. We've been talking about that in the preview, so I thought I'd mention it here as well.
Yeah, it didn't come with Austin Hill as we kind of expected. Not that it wasn't for lack of trying, as we saw based on the laps he led and where he is in points, but certainly adding to that legacy of RCR on the super speedways. I know moving forward, you mentioned it, and I'm guilty of it from different aspects as well. The rookie battle, it's Daytona, it's one race. It's great to see, but we know when it comes to winning a championship, not just making the playoffs, but to the championship, it's got to be long-term for the entire season and then hit your peak at the playoffs. So there are some things to watch. Like I said, I was a little surprised by the Haas factory, how strong they started. Don't know yet if it is just a super speedway thing that they came with out the gate, but I'm looking forward to that. I know last year I picked him several times when we were doing our fantasy. Sheldon Creed, I mean, has got to win here eventually. I mean, the odds, you just can't keep bucking the odds that badly.
Exactly. There's a whole lot of racing left to go for this season, so don't think that this is going to be it or how it's going to look for the entire season, because we could see a lot of changes, not only in the regular point standings, but in the Rookie of the Year point standings and so forth. So we'll give it some time. It'll happen.
With that, though, I certainly do look forward to Atlanta Motor Speedway. I know it's another super speedway style racing. And again, I say style racing because it is a 1.5-mile track there. So it's a little bit different, but there are a lot of the super speedway attributes that carry over. Hopefully not as many wrecks as what we saw here at Daytona.
Yes, and if you're marking your calendar for that race in Atlanta for the Xfinity Series, it'll be on the CW network on February the 22nd, starting at 4 p.m. East. 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central Time.
And don't forget, as you mentioned that, Sharon, that all they got to do is find out the time for the Xfinity Series. You know it'll be on the CW network, as that's their home for this year and beyond.
Yep. Okay. Is there anything else you want to mention about the Xfinity Series, Jay?
With that, I will add, I thought again I know we had a test run with the Xfinity Series on the CW last year. I thought their coverage was real good. We talked about they called it a bumper, but the rundown across the bottom of the screen, it's not, again, it's got to be minimized, so it's not as good as being like at the track and seeing the scoring pylon. But I do think it was better down there than on the side, because then they can put it below the action and that doesn't cover up some of it sometimes when it's on the side. So I thought the network did a great job of covering it.
Yeah, I agree. I liked the split screen. I really kind of liked it on the bottom. It made it easier for me to kind of see what was going on and the race, as well as see what the leaders were. And they showed a lot more of the drivers. I think they were able to show the top 20 with their format and the way that they did that. And I liked that as well.
But yeah, no, I got nothing else. Again, like I said, it's first race, certainly a good race. Some different storylines that we'll have to see how they carry through this season. The rookie battle, junior motorsports. I know they had a big weekend with Justin Allgaier running the Daytona 500. Yes. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So as always, they are top contenders when it comes to the championship, as Justin Allgaier is the defending Xfinity Series champion. But they got two of those rookies within junior motorsports, one of them being in the fourth place, Carson Kvapil. I don't want to get too carried away. You know, I get excited about this rookie class. You mentioned Christian Eckes in the middle. He was 12th, but William Sawalich ran good, didn't have the finish, but again, it's super speedway. That's kind of my favorite, if you will, of looking for the season, but I like Christian Eckes and Carson Kvapil. Taylor Gray mentioned that team with Toyota and Ty Gibbs technically being the owner. I'm getting excited about this rookie class.
I am too, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I think we're about ready to close out this stream, and be on the lookout for our Cup Series review as well. That will be coming soon, and then we get to do it all over again, Jay, for Atlanta next weekend.
All right, looking forward to it.
As we depart here for today, I just want to remind everybody not to forget to like and subscribe to our Fan4Racing Radio channel on YouTube. We really appreciate everybody's support. I did put up a couple of polls today, too, on our page. So you may want to respond to the polls that I have up on our page as well. It's under the post tab on our channel page. Okay, thanks for watching, everybody.